been a week since we last spoke, and the DMs, our little DM group chat it seemed to be way busier than usual. And some of it was good, some of it was bad. We're going to get into that. But let's start off with some content. Road to the Knockout Team 2. What we say, Matt?
Better than the first one, in my humble opinion. I'm in a weird state, though, at the moment with the game where I feel a little bit hoarderish with my coins, and there's just nothing that really makes me want to part with them at the moment. Not for a price I'm prepared to pay anyway. So out of Team 2, I inserted Julian Brandt into my team after a little bit of initial struggle with Weekend League. I just needed a bit more threat in my midfield. And he no doubt enhanced my team. He felt delightful to sort of dribble through midfield. Very elegant sort of cam player. And having the goal tiki-taka is right up my street. But he didn't score any goals. So he improved things, but it wasn't like the golden player that I needed. You're not going to get that at that price range, like 60 to 70k anyway. Certainly popular with opponents in Weekend League. I saw a lot of Gustos. I saw a few Loftus-Cheeks. But that's probably about it. I didn't bump into any of the other big cards during Weekend League, so I guess these are still pretty rare at this point. Maybe not so after Weekend League rewards. Maybe some more people do have them. But during Weekend League, having played it early at the weekend, didn't see too many of them, to be honest. So make of that what you will.
Lots of cheeks. That just about sums up Weekend League, to be honest. I didn't see loads of these cards, actually. I saw one or two of the cheaper ones. But yeah, not seeing any. But has anybody packed any of these?
No, don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, no.
Actually, I had my anecdotally, a couple of my friends after Weekend League, one packed Havertz, untradeable, and the other packed Garnacho, untradeable. So maybe they just wanted to give them to the North American boys. But besides that,
some of us.
No, I'm with Matt on this. I like this team a lot. I think they're, little trading plug here. There's a lot of really cheap 84s in here, the discard that might not be the end of the world to pick up. Maybe even that Balogun at 14 that looks pretty solid. They'll be doing something to do with the league coming up here soon. And
I picked up several Antonio Silvas, the Real Madrid right back, for between 11 and 12. I can see that one. No, it's not going to be like mega bucks, but it's definitely undervalued at the moment. And if that gets any upgrades, people start needing special cards to plug into Real Madrid teams. I think that one's a surefire one to rise, to be honest. But you might have to play the waiting game a little bit to get full value out of it.
Yeah. I do want to play with the Barcola and like maybe that informed Dembele at some point. I just don't have the tactics myself at the moment for a effective wing play, but those two cards look real fun, and I'm excited that there's something like that already, a dynamic duo that, sure, it's gonna be running you close to 700k, 800k combined, but those look like pretty tidy cards.
Yeah, this team looks nice, and like I said, that Barcola, he looks really nice. I think it was last year. I had an Evo of his, and really nice, really smooth on the ball, fast. But yeah, there's nothing there that gets me excited, gets me wanting to trade to go out and get after one or two. Dybala interests me. The 3-star weak foot done, but I've seen a lot of people saying Dybala's gold card were very good early on. But yeah, nothing gets me really excited. I might buy a few Lees Melou later on this week. I imagine he'll go down near discard, and that'll be handy just to have a couple of them lying around. Because he actually looks quite a good card. And he's 14k, so I think people with starter teams, everybody can afford one of these guys. He's got 4-star weak foot, 3-star skill moves. Centre mids died, didn't they, because of certain SBC. He's got deep lying playmaker role plus. no plus plus. But yeah, solid card. Worth having a go with it for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of French content at the moment, anyways, and I wouldn't be surprised. All it takes is one SBC for an attacker or defender in Liga for a couple of these special items to really pop, like we saw with the Serie A with that SBC that Paul alluded to.
A lot of Spanish content too.
I don't know if you guys agree, but it's not like a terrible team, and I do like this promo as a whole. We see it year in, year out, which is great. But it's not as sexy as some of the ones I think have come in previous years, where they'd have several, like, do everything you can to get those cards. I mean, everyone would love a Virgil, but hardly any of us are going to get that. And then the rest of it's just like, yeah, okay, they're good, but are you going to put in that first sort of $500,000 to $1 million that you've basically grinded 2 or 3 weeks to get, and really, truly put your stock into one of these guys, especially when everything's falling, and once a weekend league is over, to keep hold of any of these cards is quite perilous. So none of them really wowed me. Like, I was prepared to go out and spend money on this promo this weekend if some really exciting cards came out, and I know this was all pre-leaked and everything, but I try and avoid those and at least try and be surprised on Friday. And I was just like, no, I don't think I'll bother. It's like, this isn't the one for me promo-wise. It's not bad. It's just not going to make me part with my cash, and certainly not part with the coins I have grinded to get so far. Nothing there's like the player to build my early doors competitive team around, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's really difficult though, isn't it? Like, we're 2 weeks in. Like, this is our first promo. There's no real, like, complete cards there. There's some good ones. Some have got issues with weak foot, skill moves, rolls. But they're not, you can see they're not wanting to, like, get the power curve off to a flyer.
Yeah, which I'm okay. Like, you think about it, this is the first weekend after the full release. I hear what you're saying about week 2. Like, I'm okay with them not. This Thuram SBC, which, sorry to jump ahead on it, is already a card that's, pushing into so many squads that I'm okay with it being like that, rather than like, all right, you have to have three players from this Road to the Knockout Team 1 or 3 players from the Road to the Knockout Team 3 in your squad right away. I am A-okay with them having still, a market for gold rares 2 weeks into the game, right? Like, I'm okay with that. That said, I think that's going to change dramatically as we move into these next couple of promos, and the wheels start falling off at some point here.
Well, I know Road to the Knockout Team 2 and really Team 1 really wasn't that exciting. And I feel like the hype is kind of starting to wear off for the new game. But we are starting to get some player SBCs. And some of these were some decent SBCs. But I feel like the pricing on Nico particularly is a little off. What do you think about that one, Paul?
Yeah, I was thinking 300k, maybe 250. Because it's only a small upgrade on his gold card. And I know it's a live card and he's got the opportunity to, get some upgrades and become a special card. But the way Nico's been playing, he'll have 2 informs by November when this card can get its first upgrade, I think. It's one of them, innit? I think it's one of those SBCs where if people spend a lot of money on this game, they're going to get after it and do the SBC, because I can't see many people doing that. Don't get me wrong, he's going to be a banging card because his gold card is great. One of the most popular wingers we've got. So that card, if they do well and it does get upgrades and it gets the roll pluses and whatnot, it's going to be a phenomenal card. But we'll have lots of phenomenal cards by the time he gets his upgrades. And 500k or 550 when fodder's cheap.
620 right now.
620 fodder's gone up, you see. So, like,
yeah.
that's a lot of coins. And I
It's
don't
dead
have
money.
fodder.
You can't get it back.
I just had enough fodder to do Thuram, and I had to use some tradable cards off my transfer list, which I'd packed but were going to sell, because I don't generally buy cards to do SBCs. If I'm doing an SBC, I'll do it out of the club in untradeable stuff. And who's got untradeable stuff to be doing a 600k? Like, a lot of people haven't even got the coins to go do that SBC. We'll have other cards coming as well, which will be close to as good. Evos, whatnot. It's just a lot.
I
But
was
yeah, we
watching
know what they're doing,
Pug's,
don't they?
watching Pug's stream over the weekend, just observing his weekend league play before I went in and did my own. And he did this SBC, and it's a pretty obvious summary of how it went, but a very good card, but extremely poor value for money. Like, there's very little justification for doing that if you expect any kind of return. There's too many holes in that card for it to be a viable long-term thing. That is very much a seize upon the hype of this player coming off the back of an amazing World Cup. Everyone loves this player in real life. Get a special card in that stimulates the player base, starts making some market moves to get the cards needed to do this. But imagine if you haven't traded, how much you would have to sink into packs to get enough fodder to do that card at such an early stage of the game. It would take God knows how much. It would be very, very real life, real money expensive to get that card. So it's definitely one for the 1%ers or even less than that, quite frankly. And you can get the gold for a fraction of that, and it's barely any worse, quite frankly, as it is right now. And at least you can get your money back on that one if you decide it's not for you, whereas this one's just a complete sinkhole. That's such an enormous investment at such an early stage of the game.
I think that the writing was on the wall when they at an hour, 2 hours before this came out, the Yamal SBC came out, and that was 200k, and you're like, oh no,
Yeah, it's
200K.
perfect timing, wasn't it?
Yeah, like 200. Like you, like Matt said, you try to avoid the leaks. It's out there, kind of a disservice if you care about your coins and whatnot to not maybe look at this. If you're really hyper worried about your coin. That said, Yamal drops and you're like, oh crap, 200k for a static card that absolutely they're trying to get name factor on. And then you look at Nico Williams come out and you're like, 6 squads come out for this requirement, 88 rated, 87 rated, 87 rated. I think there's even an inform in one of those, that's required. And you're just like, cheesy Pete's, what are we doing? Like, for the first weekend of the game, agreed that it was, a lot of hype for a little bit of a letdown. I'm okay that I'm not seeing this card all over the place again. Nico Williams with Rapid Plus this early in the game would be really annoying. Send me to the Shadow Realm. But yeah, I was happy, hey, it's the perfect time of year where these type of little hypes are, they move the market a little bit, cause a little panic here and there. It keeps that aspect of the game interesting as much as maybe you get burned a little bit. There's the fact that there's talk about it, dialogue about it is better than not having anything there.
What about these WPL, the Women's Premier League cards that came out? I think there's 3 or 4 of them. I know, Paul, that you're really excited about it. I can see that all over your face.
Who?
Do you know what? You know me. Love a good female card. Always have done. Ebony Salmon looks a great card when you look at it. She's got 3-star skills, but...
I love me some Ebony Salmon.
Yep, everybody loves a bit of salmon. But the thing about these cards is they're cheap. 22k.
I wonder why.
It's
Her
for
and
now,
Watkins
innit?
up top, not a bad combo.
There's
Her and that.
Ali Watts. She came out the other day as well. Another card that looks great. Is she about 20k as well? You don't mind doing them. You'll get a bit of use out of them. 2 or 3 weeks in your team. Even if not, if you just use them for a weekend league at 20k, it's good value, and you can do the other foundations, can't you? I'm not gonna,
Yeah, I
but
think,
you
I
could
think they've
do.
done well on Foundations cards. for this stage of the game. It's been nothing that's going to like crazily crack the meta or anything, but very useful for starter teams. I've been using Jone Anazaga from Bilbao to link up to my Evo Iñaki.
Nice.
Very nice card for the price, and I don't feel so bad about not having a Nico at this point, and she's rapid and tricky and suits the whole boosting meta pretty well.
Yep.
So yeah, thumbs up on the foundation card so far. It's all good stuff, and worth doing if you've got nothing to do in terms of midweek grind to get these cards and just have them in the club ready for any Evo that will inevitably come out that utilises them.
Totally.
So even if you don't use them today, they're going to be relevant at some point.
I'd piggyback off that and say that the OBJ, like the season OBJ players, like the Gal, the Fontes, like all these MLS boys, are in a similar boat. I mean, you look at some of the stats on these guys, and you're like, oh, this is perfectly, like, I feel like they definitely hit the nail on the head. That Fontes center back, the Spanish center back, you know, if you're doing a Road to Glory or first owner, you know, untradeable, this card with the Spanish link could absolutely fit in your back line. They have decent play styles. You know, they have hit the stats that matter on some of these promo cards that have let them down in the past: reactions, defensive awareness, composure. Like this Fontes, if you blind looked at the stats of this, you know, this Kansas City center back that's Spanish, and he has 90 reactions, 90 composure, you know, 83 defensive awareness for a center back, good passing stats, 80 pace, 86 aggression, you'd be like, oh, this is a meta card, right? And so it's nice that there's an ability for people that maybe don't want to spend their whole bank account to have some season, or, you know, reasonable cards.
I've been using that Nacho Gil.
Yep, a great card.
Really nice card. Good balanced stats everywhere. He's got long ball, technical, rapid and flair. 4-star, 4-star. And when I'm in between flipping cards for my team, he's a perfect card just to throw in. Can play lots of positions. And I thought he was going to be trash. So I put him on my bench, thought he'll be okay. Brought him on a few times and did all right. So I've played a couple of games today and started him. And yeah, lovely card. For nothing. Well, I say for nothing. For 400 hours of playing this game. But I've got him.
Yeah.
400 hours?
Well,
Impressive.
might not be 400. It definitely felt like 400.
Yeah.
On Thursday, when I went to get my rewards
Oh no.
and logged in on
What
the
happened?
app to see what time rewards were and realised I had only got 44 points and not 45.
Unlucky. That is unlucky.
No, it's fucking stupid, is what that is. The night before,
Agreed.
I was sat playing with George Co-op for about 3 hours on another account because I thought I were all done. So it wasn't like I didn't have time. I thought I'm done. Watch these rewards come in. I've got it. No, I didn't have it at all.
How did that even happen?
I was
It
convinced.
was just unlucky, man.
I won my last game. And I think I've been disconnected, or I have put my controller down and walked away and not gone through the last bit of the... Just something's happened. I was convinced I'd got 47 points. Convinced, 100%, but no. No. So,
Sorry.
Yep.
For that.
Did you pack anything in your 5-win rewards that you were able to salvage?
no.
Still unlucky.
Yeah. You know me. Never pack fuck all.
No, I don't know. I know that you pack a lot usually.
No, I've packed nothing this year so far.
Not
apart
this
from
year, but
Saliba.
last year you packed enough for all of us. Son of a bitch. Did you guys do
Terrible.
that hero pack that was in the store this week?
No,
No.
not down for loans.
I don't
Not paying for
yeah.
them anyway.
No, this
Loan?
wasn't a loan.
No, this is the 87. This was the guaranteed 87 or below. I don't think that's... You look at the hero cards and it's like, what, I want a Goody? Like, I don't think so.
Oh,
I did it.
I did it.
Oh, shit.
the store pack, this is, isn't it?
Yeah.
What did we get?
I got old Gunner United
He's
striker.
actually pretty good. He's actually pretty decent,
Yeah.
I will say.
Yeah, but I got Sophia Smith up there. He ain't taking her spot.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Sophia Smith is real annoying this week in league.
Matt, what did you get?
I got
I was
El
unlucky.
Jaber. which I was initially a bit disappointed about. But actually trying him out, I quite like him. It's not going to last a very long time, but he is basically pound shot Griezmann, but with a right foot. He can bang them long range finesse. So I'm relatively happy with that for the next week or so, and then we'll see where we're at. But it wasn't what I wanted, obviously. But we'll make it work. It's fine.
How much for the pack?
2,500 FIFA points.
Whoa.
Yeah, with 250
20
coins,
quid,
right?
basically.
20 quid,
Yeah.
fucking hell.
20 quid
Yeah.
for that and like an 85 rated card. Stupid. So
Oh shit, you
Well,
guys could
that
have
put me in a good
Hamsik
mood
in that,
before
though?
Weekend League, and then
Yeah.
Weekend League was great. So.
Totally.
Wow.
Yeah. It was either like take $20 and like throw it out the window, or try my luck at, But either way, I should just throw it out the window. Somebody else would have found it and probably used it.
Yeah.
We touched on the Turam SBC. I think we've all done it, right? That was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing card for 50k. Everybody out there should do it. French Link. You got to do it at this point in the game.
Yeah.
That's a centre mid that's going to be in your team for the next month or two. Like, people are still using his gold because of how overpowered that card is. Really meta. Every other centre mid in the game died, and links to Thuram just absolutely exploded.
Yeah. So if you knew that ahead of time, that was the trade, right?
Yes.
Can you imagine, like, a few years ago, having a Hullet Gang card for 50k right at the beginning
Oh,
of the game? I don't know what they were
DeMarco. I
thinking.
mean, yeah, when that DeMarco came
Live
out last
card
week,
too, right?
yeah, both of those guys are. I mean, yeah, both of these players in a big league too. Like, I could maybe have seen them throwing us a bone for someone in the MLS or like, the
Saudi League or something.
Yeah, something that's just like they want to get us a little bit more interested in this league, but they're struggling. Maybe the Argentinian league, but no, I mean, in a top 5 league, with the number 1 most popular nation, probably. Man, that's crazy.
Yeah. If you did Thuram,
Yeah,
and Varane, like,
yeah, that trio is going to be all over.
yeah, it really is.
What do we think of the Varane SBC? Sorry to steal your thunder, Hunter.
I think it's
Are we doing it?
okay value. I haven't got the fodder to do it, and I'm not spending coins on it. But I think if you have got the fodder and you need a centre back, you can't really fail with Varane. I've not seen any reviews or anything on him, but he's just Varane, isn't he?
He's got good. I mean, he's got really good play styles. Intercept plus I like a lot.
Yeah.
I will say though, I don't know. I am a little worried for a card at that price. Like the balance being as low as it is, it's like, okay, well, are we gonna have a it's strictly this card's gonna be really good, but it's how long is this card gonna be really good for? And if I'm gonna put 400k into it, I'd like at least a month.
Just buy
right?
Virgil. It's
Right,
like,
like
it's such a trap. Like,
Yeah.
the nostalgia hit is very expensive here. Like, that's a 400k SBC. Virgil's 350 right now. Has
Yeah.
higher face stats. Will plug into teams easier. You can get your money back out of it. It's just buy Virgil.
Yeah. Or even like an Eder Militao if you want someone a little bit more agile this year. Like, there are, to Matt's point, there are plenty of other complement or substitute players at this stage.
The one thing it's got going for it, it's a pretty card.
The
Right?
design.
It's
is
a nice
beautiful.
card design. So
Yeah.
the high rollers will love it. But it's not as good as Van Dijk, unfortunately. Which pains me to say, but I'd also like to get my coins out of it at some point. So yeah, it's one of those ones I can't realistically do.
He does
It'd
have
be nice
a-
to have, but no, it's
Yeah.
not going to happen.
It's got that ping pass play style though, which is going to be real helpful. After the amount of times in weekend league I turned the ball over with my center backs trying to do a pass across the middle, that'd be a nice little style to have.
Yeah, he's got all the play styles, and he intercept gold, anticipate silver, block silver, aerial silver, and ping pass. Like, it really is a nice card. Last time I looked, he was about 300 and some K, which I thought, that's all right. 400k is probably a little bit much, but I do think he'll last you a long time. Varane always has crap balance, doesn't he? Like, that's for the last few years, he's had terrible balance, but still been
Yeah, he plays that.
really solid. And it seems like this year, whoever the defenders are, they seem to be able to catch up to most players. So
Not my defenders, but
That's
my
so
opponents.
fucking
Yeah,
annoying,
right.
isn't it?
Yeah.
God, it's so annoying. It doesn't matter
It's
how well
most
you play.
apparent. It's most apparent when you come out of a speed boost. Like your next dash is mega slow.
Yeah.
So you basically have to finish your move with the speed boost. You can't chain that into some other move that immediately makes you maintain the pace that the speed boost is giving you. So if you try and speed boost through a back four and you're not having a shot immediately once you get that half yard of space, you're just going to get caught by any semi-decent defender at this point. And that's the balancing thing. I don't have a problem with that. You just have to learn how to deal with that and maybe don't speed boost. Just do a lofted through ball with your normal pace and it'll probably be better. And I think it's just finding when each particular way of attacking is more appropriate and don't just spam the obvious meta glitch mechanic which everyone's fallen in love with, which I don't have a problem with it. I think it's fine. It's just overly utilized at the moment, but then people complain about not being able to get away from centre backs when you've done it. It's like Jeremy Doku doesn't like fly past people after he's done his immediate trick. He gets his half yard and then he can crack a 30-yarder off. He can't then like just steam through Virgil van Dijk. That's not how it works in real life. You've used up all your energy and dynamism to get that initial boost and then it's gone. So deal with it. Learn how to use it properly. It's very effective when used correctly, but just trying to steamroll through teams of pace ain't going to do it, unfortunately.
Well, let's jump into that then, since we're kind of dancing on the edge of it already. But why is it that people are so reliant upon the speed boost mechanic?
I don't think they're reliant on it. I just think because it's the new thing, everyone wants to do it, and it's fun. And
I
it's
think
effective.
a lot of people are reliant upon it. Like, judging from what I'm seeing, the people I'm playing, people do that, and if you can stop it, if you can anticipate it and stop it, they can't do anything else, and you destroy them. Like, a lot of people, that's the only way they attack.
If you know someone's going to overutilize that, you just back off, and then they can't do anything, because when they regain the ball after speed boosting, they're dead. They can't move. So you just give them a bit of space and then just nip in and take the ball. If that's how they literally just every time they get the ball, they want to spam that. You have to take another touch and then speed boost after that to get back up to speed again. So they would have to beat you with the speed boost, then take a touch and then speed boost again, which gives you plenty of opportunity to intercept if you're a competent defender. So I don't have a problem with it. I think it's a great mechanic. It makes for exciting gameplay, and we've probably not seen the full potential of it used yet. I'm sure once some pros have really gotten into it, we'll see how it can be chained with certain skill moves and gameplay situations to be mega effective, especially once we start seeing cars get to the point where they can bang goals in with long range finesses and stuff like that, a la your Griezmanns and Salahs, that kind of thing, after immediately performing a speed boost and the goal scoring opportunities that then creates. It just opens up more doors, more variety of gameplay. The only thing I'm not happy with is that off the back of last season, where like crossing was such a massive improvement, that seems to have been reeled in this year, and then this is sort of taken its place as the new way of creating goal scoring opportunities. I wish you could have both. Maybe as cards progress, they get more whip pass pluses, crossing will be more effective, like it was at the beginning of last year's game. But right now, that seems to be lacking. So going back to your original point, Hans, I know I've been rambling on a little while now. It's getting overutilized. It's spam because it's fresh and it's effective. And as you say, it's because it's so easy to do, generally speaking, lots of people just go for it. It was like lob through balls off a kickoff a few years ago, just spamming through balls down the middle to Werner. It's just the thing that people are doing right now. I'm sure it will change to a point, but right now this is what we got.
Yeah. And I guess the reason I asked it that way was because personally, I'm struggling to create offensively. I've tried several different formations, and a lot of times the gameplay just feels a little stagnant offensively. There's not a lot of movement. Everything feels like it's more manual based. Like I need to tell people to go on runs. I need to beat people while dribbling. And if that's how the game's supposed to be played, okay, I just need to learn how to play it. But with this whole FCIQ thing, that tells me that that's not how they want the game to be played. That shouldn't be manual. It should be more creative. And you should be able to create different attacking scenarios. And I just don't see it. I don't see other people doing it. I see a lot of rebounds. I see a lot of, tackles where you don't come away with the ball.
Do you find
know.
that when you're like commanding a player to make a run, you have to do it twice? Like the first time
Sometimes.
just doesn't register, which infuriates me. It costs me so much in build up. I have to do it a second time to get them to move. Or
That's just unlucky.
even when it does respond, they don't move very quickly. Like they're very slow to then begin their run when you command them to do it. That's really frustrating. It seems to be by design. I don't think it's a bug or anything like that. You can't just send someone very quickly. They've got to think about it, and I'll just start jogging and then I'll run. And it's really, really annoying. But again, if that's the way it's meant to be, then it's just something you have to get used to. But it's one of those little differences that I think are irking people as they adapt to this new version of the game. It's like, why did that need to be changed? I was happy with that the way it was. I don't see the benefit of changing it to the way it is, and that's what really winds up people. It's great when we implement new things into the game. It's clearly obvious what the benefit is. We just need to get used to it. Some things they change, it seems, for the sake of change, and that really bothers people when they're transitioning from last year's game to the new one, I think.
I think that probably has to do with the the whole roles aspect of it, where you can see on the map it seems to be so heat map based that it's like, all right, well, they're in conflict. Like if you have a fullback on defend, it's going to be in conflict when you're trying to send it on a run, because it's like, okay, well, my job is supposed to be to not go past the halfway mark, but to your point, Matt, like I want you to go past the halfway mark.
Yeah,
please.
that brings up another one where you can be defending on the edge of your area and the guy who's in possession is standing right next to his CDM and he just does not move, does not make any attempt to zonally press the player, to stick his foot out and take it. Just buy, because I'm not in control with him. And whether that's just the toned down AI aspect, which we've said we wanted, and now we've got it, and it's actually really annoying, or it's the rigidity of the roles thing that you're saying. It's like, no, my role says I don't go that far back, so I'm deactivated at this point. You need to control me manually to get me to do anything. And it's infuriating.
Yeah,
it really
It's
is.
frustrating, but is this a good level of infuriating though for you?
No.
Like, is this okay? This is
Not
something
healthy
you're
whatsoever.
No.
It's a video game.
Yeah.
All we wanted was for less centre-back AI blocks. We don't need our CDMs switching off and not just putting a foot out when the guy's 5 centimetres away from you. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we can't control every player on the field. So unless we want to get back to a point where we just control CDMs and let the AI centre-backs do all the hard work for us, which is what everyone's been complaining about forever, then something's not quite right, I think.
Yeah. It's really frustrating, this sending people on runs thing. The amount of times this weekend where, I might have mentioned this last week, where I've sent my centre mid on a run, or my cam on a run, and he's running, so I play the ball, and he just fucking stops. Like, I'm not allowed to go that far.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Unlucky.
not my territory, so I'm just going to stop. And I'm like, that would have been a goal. You just needed to carry on running, you dickhead. Just, like, if I want him to stop running, I will cancel
it's
the
up
run.
to you to command them
Yes.
to stop.
If he wants to keep running straight into the stand, go for it. But if I want you to run. And going back to what you were just saying there, Matt, about people controlling the CDMs, like, I'm seeing that, like, people are not touching the centre backs.
Yeah, I've
5
seen that too.
backs, people controlling the CDMs, pressing
5
with
at the
a
back is back.
second man pressing with the wingers. Like, I said it, I tweeted out yesterday, I was so thankful Weekend League was over. And that's the first time I felt like that for a while. Like I enjoy weekend league. I enjoy that sort of level of competitiveness. But this weekend started at 2 and 5.
Oof, unlucky.
I went into the weekend with without a formation that I really liked. So I used one that was lots of fun, concede lots but score lots, which were all right in division rivals. When I'm playing people in weekend league, they took the piss out of me, really. We had a few games that were like 4-4 at half time. But then we had some that were like 4-0 at half time. So I had a bit of a change about, went to a 5-back, and we stopped conceding the goals, but we also stopped scoring as many. I had a few that were 0-0, extra time. It's not
I was
why I
about
do
to
it.
ask, do you think your frustrating experience with weekend league was predominantly down to still not quite having the right tactical setup? Because I know that's something that you've struggled a little bit with after the first week.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. But it just feels so slow and sluggish. It feels like you've got bad gameplay all the time.
All the time.
Do you know, like, over the years, we've all had periods where gameplay's been rough and it's felt heavy and like you're running in treacle. I've been fortunate that my gameplay was not often like that, but sometimes
Running in
it
what?
was. But this is it's like that all the time. Just slow, sluggish. You can't get the ball into a player's feet and get it away in time before somebody comes in and has it away from you. But we had at the beginning of the game, but like I said in that tweet yesterday, I feel like this game needs something drastic before everybody just fucks off. Like the move that I'm seeing across Twitter now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been zero gameplay updates, though. Zero.
Which is
all
okay.
they've updated was stability issues in the menus, really.
It's literally been like 9 days since this has been out for the public. Add 7 days for that for the the tryhards like us. But I'm okay with them not rushing to I'm okay with them giving us one more weekend league like this, and if something's wrong again like that, that's fine. Absolutely, nuke it, do what you got to do, make the drastic change. I agree, Hunter. I agree with what all we're saying is, I felt after playing my weekend league game, I was like, man, do I really want to play this game anymore? And if that's the feeling you guys are getting, it's like, that's not good.
That is how I felt. I genuinely thought, I don't think I'll play weekend league. I'll just play rivals and squad battles, which isn't going to be enough to keep me fully engaged. And as far as player base in general, the holistic view of all the people who've bought this game, there's a lot of casuals. Black Ops 6 is out in 2 weeks. They're going to go do something else.
Yeah,
no doubt.
I mean, I agree. Hunter made the point. We were messaging in the Discord, like you said. Hunter made the point of why, we want to talk about this. Why did they make Weekend League harder to get into? Why would you cut off? I'll be the first to say I tried Friday morning North American time, so Friday afternoon for you UK folks. I went in my first 5 qualifiers. I went 2 and 3 on some, whatever gameplay was what it was. So I had to re-qualify, which was another 4 rivals games, and then got back in. So and I thought oh man, maybe I don't play. And I'm not a bad player by any means, because then I go into Weekend League. At one point I'm 7 and 3. I decided to change up the team a little bit, try some fun stuff, and it's okay, whatever. But it is, if 25% of this podcast wasn't going to play Weekend League, and you extrapolate that to the to the player base out there, it's okay, well, that is where there's going to be some mismatch of. I felt like I was playing elite players every game I played in Weekend League. There was no switch off. There were no
freebies. There were no 2-0, 3-0 rage quits straight away. And you nailed it there. George did not play at this game at all last year. George used to be hardcore with this game, didn't he? He was the man we went to for all our info. But he got into the game this year, started playing a bit of Rush, started building a team, went to qualify for Weekend League this weekend, didn't qualify, and we're fuck it. Why? They don't want me to play their game.
Exactly.
Why am I gonna?
The same thing that happened to me.
We had a discussion in our WhatsApp group. There's about 3 of us, and we were saying, is this their intention to send people to the store to get better teams? To that's something that, you know, you keep grinding because you can't quite grab it. I don't know what the thinking is, but it makes it harder for those who can only just qualify because you're playing against good people all the time. And it just seems
we're
and it
conditioned.
ain't a bad business model, obviously, because they know what they're doing. They're not fucking idiots. But why would you not want somebody to play every mode of your game?
That's what I don't understand.
Well, we
Like,
did
I had
get
the same experience. Like I went. Go ahead, Wes.
No. Go ahead, Hunter. Sorry,
I played my champs qualifiers, and I didn't play champs at all last year. Not a single time. I might have played a couple of playoffs games, but I didn't play any champs last year. I said I'm gonna make a go, try to get back in the scene. First 2 games of qualifiers, I played absolute fucking demons, and I got destroyed. I mean, I felt like I was a Division 10 player when these guys got done with me. Completely obliterated. Fine. Go into the third game. Game crashed. Got a DNF. So there went my qualification, right? Because you got to win 3 out of 5. And that was my thoughts. Well, I guess I'm just not playing FIFA this weekend. And I didn't. I played a little bit of Rush, played some clubs, but I spent very little time on the game. And if that's what they want, I'll give them that. Because I'm not going to be a slave to this game and go to the store and try to fucking make my team better when I can't even rely on the game stable enough to even play it, to get qualified. So they can fuck off.
Yeah, I think my experience is slightly different to what you guys are describing. I didn't feel I was necessarily playing against like elite players, but they had much stronger squads than I had quite frequently. So people either super grindy, excellent traders were spending way more than I'm prepared to spend at this early stage of the game. So fair play to you. But most of my matches were close. I ended up 6-9, so not great. There's only one guy who absolutely played me off the park, and I ended up quitting at half time. But the gameplay, it wasn't like laggy or muddy, I think, as Paul described. It was just car crash. It was just like, let's all meet in the middle of the pitch and just smack the fuck into each other. There's no room to really play the ball around. The passing lanes are extremely tight. If you try and use players, say like one of the diminutive female midfielders, for example, it does give you a little bit more room for manoeuvre in terms of the attacking sense, but you lose so much in terms of being able to intercept the ball because they just aren't big enough to catch those stray passes, and you give up so much by having them. Okay, that's a balance thing, I get it, but it's just like the teams already at this stage were all so very similar and were just so difficult to play against. Lots of like 1-0s, 2-1s, no like impressive attacking games where there was lots of goals flying in. They were almost never happening. And it's just really like frustrating that at this stage of the game, it should be perhaps more open than at any other point in the game, because there should be fewer elite players in the game that clog up the passing lanes, that make it difficult to break teams down. And I don't know where 5-back has come from in terms of a resurgence and popularity that's been demonized for years. Most people wouldn't go anywhere near it, especially if they're a content creator. Now it's like, check out this great new tactic I've done with 5 players at the back. You'll do really well with it. It's like they've sold their souls. And I'm not a big 5 at the back like hater, because to me it's not rocket science to break them down. It just takes a bit of adjustment and patience. And if you do have players that can ping them in from long range, it's quite easy to play against 5 at the backers. But there does seem to be a change in the mindset this year, whereby people are preferring solidity over attacking prowess, I think, at this early stage. It's either 5 at the back or it's a 4-2-3-1 type where there's 2 defensive midfielders, so effectively 6 defensive players at that point, which to me is even worse than 5 at the back.
Yeah,
because at least they give something up in the midfield. It's just all very car crash, scrappy. The thing that I saw a lot in week 1, which I think we all identified, was a lot of rebound goals. Super frustrating. That, I don't know if they patched it or not. Didn't see that much this weekend, but what I did see was a lot of people dribbling into my defenders it looks like my defenders should take them cleanly, and they just like skill through the defender and absorb the deflected ball. So they just carry on their run essentially, and then it's just a tap and goal. Too many of those happen. It was ridiculous. I can play defensively, I'm going to say perfect, but very well, do everything right, and if they just like skill at me, even if I block them, they come out with the ball through some scrappy deflection. Their player recovers faster than my centre-back can from the clash. Tap and goal. It's like, that's not good gameplay. And even if someone tried to convince me that that's realistic, if someone does that in real life, they might get a deflect and the ball might just fall at their feet. It's just like, but it doesn't make for a good game. We don't have to do everything hyper-realistic. It should be what's good for the game, what's good for the players. And surely no one's satisfied, even in weekend league where there's more stakes. Getting goals like that is nothing to shout about. It's nothing to feel good about. And it's like, even when I did score goals, didn't feel good about them because it was mostly down to scrappiness rather than an outstanding gameplay. I just think we're in a strange muddle at the minute. And like Y says, yeah, it's too early to have had a proper gameplay patch, but it's crying out for one. Like, I can't wait to see what patch number 1, the title update, whatever you want to call it, really looks like. I hope there's some quite drastic changes, to be honest.
I think we're also at a stage where there's a little bit of like an information void. There's an information gap where I do think the defensive tactics and like the defensive setup and shape is, it's not completely figured out by any means, I think, in tactics, but it's easier to do, with the 5-back setup with that 4-2-3-1 setup. Whereas we have not figured out what's the right role, what's the right play styles. I mean, well, play styles, but actually maybe not as much. But what's the right roles and instructions for these attackers? I feel like that's where we're lacking a little bit, and I don't know if that's because the attacking positioning. I haven't done a look at it, but is the attacking positioning rating and stat on a lot of these high-end attackers lower than the defensive awareness and reaction and positioning of the defenders? And that's where there's this chasm, meaning that it feels like defenses are better than attackers. But I think it's mainly down to the actual in-game tactic aspects of it. I think Shadow Striker on cams is really great if you want him to play more like a winger, but that's crazy to think about because it's like, okay, well, how should I actually be playing this cam? I can't put him on a playmaker because they're supposed to sit back there, but if they don't have a playmaker double plus, it feels like they're just lost. And so I do think that there's a lot more question marks there that have leaned this game to be more friendly if you just sit back in your 5-back or your 4-2 back and play counter with, and then choose your poison. Do you want to have your balanced defensive line, or do you want to have your high defensive line? I know I personally struggled a lot with the high defensive lines this week and the passing mechanic that I do think we'll need to see a patch for. If I'm making a pass with my left back to my center defensive mid that's wide open and he shanks it, if another one of those happens, and then I'm going to scream and I won't play Weekend League anymore. But that's where I wonder, and hopefully out there the pros are in their labs doing their work, putting 15 hours on this game to tell me going forward, all right, what player role should I have on these players?
Yeah. I were talking about it in the Discord this weekend because I'm hearing so much about these roles and I was like, do I use the formation that's solid and then use my best players and then use their best roles? So say if I've got a De Jong, who I think's got playmaker plus.
Yeah.
Do I use that? Where really I want him to be more holding. So it's that. What?
Yeah, the cost-benefit analysis of all these roles just isn't there yet. We just don't know. What is the true impact of putting someone in their preferred role versus you putting them in a position or a role that suits your tactic rather than the player? And what are we gaining? What are we losing by doing that? And we just don't know enough about it at this point. It all just seems very confusing. And I find, particularly if you're in a formation that has lots of midfielders, if you put all of them on a different role, it just seems like such chaotic mess. Like, the further you stray from standardization, the weirder they all seem to perform.
Yeah.
I haven't really put anyone in a role yet where I think, holy shit, they're playing exactly the way I understand that role suggests they should play. My interpretation of that role is this, and they're doing it. I haven't really encountered that yet, which is disappointing because some of them, they sound cool. Shadow Striker. Well, this isn't something that we've had to contend with before. But they all just seem very much the same as they ever did. Or if you get into a point where you're just putting different roles on everybody, it just seems a big mess, and there's no one's really playing cohesively. It's very confusing. They haven't done enough to educate the player base on what this is, how it should be used effectively, how it's beneficial for you to utilize those players in those plus or plus plus roles.
You need a fucking degree.
Yeah,
I've only
I
just
will say
figured out how
hopefully, though.
chemistry fucking works. And now you want me to learn all this? I just want to switch a game on. Mess about, get a formation off YouTube and just play the game, have a bit of fun, score loads of goals. And, it'd be fun. Not have to sit down for an hour before I start playing to figure out how to stop my fucking centre mid from just stopping after he sets off on a run. Or... it's just a lot.
It sounds like we're all just unlucky.
No,
Yeah, I was to start
Get
playing
good,
this fucking
etc.
game.
I'm looking forward to it though. I think that the more toggles that we have, I'll be a champion to say that is for the better, right? Like I get it. It's frustrating now, and
You
there
keep
are some
telling yourself that, Wise. You keep
No,
telling yourself that.
and I hope that through patches it does give us more variety in gameplay, because I am worried. Like, my biggest thing about when we see patches early in the game, it just means that then one way of playing, or like two ways of playing, are then the go-to, and that to me is where the game gets real stagnant. Like this one, if we have to keep playing car crash meta, I completely agree, Matt. I will turn the game off, absolutely. But I do think that there's a little bit of a silver lining with the fact that there is still a lot of toggles that we can mess with to hopefully give us a better experience this weekend. Or maybe the next couple of weekends. I don't want to just make it seem like this is the ultimatum. On a lighter note, who was everybody's best player for them this weekend league?
Griezmann. Only because he could absolutely smash those finesses from edge at box, and that was the only way I could score. And Son from the other side. So anybody with finesse plus, really.
Trevellis from the byline are very strong.
Yeah, Trevellas
Still.
are my main scoring.
Even long
goals.
Trevellas are still very strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In just throw that out there.
Evo'd Iñaki, what was that, like Supreme Evo that you got right at the beginning of the
Sprint
game?
Supreme or whatever.
You can make some incredible early game cards with. So Iñaki with that is he's got endgame pace and strength and everything already. So he's a real handful whether you play him at striker or on the right.
Yeah.
And with gold, power shot, very useful. If you can just like speed boost to get that half yard of space and then power shot it, it's not a goal every time, but it's very effective. So
That's
he's,
an Evo. I
the
wish I'd
main
have
man in
done
my
that.
team. Yeah,
I wish I'd
that's
have
it.
done that Evo.
Especially if you like Nico, and obviously pairing them up's kind of nice, even though you don't get like perfect chem because of different nationalities. But it's just a nice thing to have in your team. But he's going to be the main man for me for quite a while, I think.
The last thing. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. My turn. No, just kidding. My boy was Barella. Barella was fantastic for me, and I'm excited to pair him up with Thuram moving forward. I don't know what it was. Like, the agile midfielders are great. Talking about the roles, I tried to play this boy on half winger for a while, right? Because he's got the half winger center mid plus. Absolute trash. No point in playing that. In my opinion, that play role is awful. It's like, why do I want him playing right mid? If there's maybe a way where someone then plays like a false back with Trent and has a center mid that's, maybe like Llorente, that he can play the wing, that all has to be kept in mind. That said, this boy hustled, and in a weekend league where I felt like a lot of my players were sluggish and not doing what they needed to do, Barella was at least up and down the pitch in the box-to-box role, scored some banging Trevellas. So he was my MVP.
I didn't really have an MVP because I just played clubs and
You were your
Rush
own MVP?
mostly. What's that?
Your player was your own MVP?
Yeah, Clayton Bigsby. We can edit that. We have to. They didn't allow his name in clubs. I tried to put it in there, but they wouldn't let me use it. For obvious reasons, I think. But
Fair.
either way, I want to talk about Rush real quick before we get off, because I noticed it today because I turned on the ping overlay indicator yesterday. The inconsistency in Rush. I'm sure everybody feels it. Metz, we talked about it before. He said he has inconsistency. Most of them feel bad. I was connecting to UK servers today when I was playing drop-ins in Rush. So you would think if I'm going to play a drop-in by myself, I'd be connecting in the United States server somewhere in the US or Central Mexico for me. But not the case. I'm connecting to UK servers 3 out of 4 games during the day. In the evenings, I'm connecting in the US. It's so strange because I was talking to some people in the UK. Same thing for them. They're connected to US servers. It's completely random. It doesn't seem like matchmaking is working whatsoever. And I'm worried they're going to kill Rush mode because of it. Because people aren't going to stick around and play that dog shit. Just putting that out there. If you're feeling inconsistent gameplay, it's because they fucked up the netcode and the matchmaking.
Well,
either on purpose or on accident.
There's 2 things for me. One, incredibly bad input latency. Like you have to press your command a good couple of seconds before you actually want to play a pass or take a shot. Otherwise, you're just dead. Whether that's to do with getting routed to the wrong region in terms of the service or not, I don't know. But it sucks. It just makes a very poor gameplay experience. And then it's just that your whole enjoyment factor of Rush is totally dependent on the IQ level of the people that you match up with if you're playing with Joe Public. And look, these are the players we've all been wanting to play against. We just don't want to play with them because honestly the football smarts of the average Rush player is so awful. Like the selfish play, they just running off sides. It's just like they've never played a football game before. It's bizarre.
12-year-old kids out there probably.
Yeah,
I want to play these guys as rivals.
It's unbelievable. Like they need some sort of like kudos system within Rush whereby it assesses how good of a teammate you are and then matches people within your competency banding, for lack of a better term, because just getting like thrown in there with like Timmies who literally don't know anything, can't make a run, can't hang back for a tap in, they just like do crazy shit all the time. And then of course no one defends. It's just like you're just wasting my fucking time, man. It's like it's such, if there was no XP attached to it, I would never play Rush again. Like, but you just have to dip into it just to get a few objectives done. But it is so abysmal. Like, there's no satisfaction in the game because you can't score goals in the same manner that you can in the regular game. Like, it just doesn't allow you to. It's almost all tap-ins, from my perspective anyway, anecdotally speaking. If
you play with a full group of people, you can really score some nice ones. But playing without a full group, it's fucking tragic. It's cancer.
Yeah, it's 4-0 at this stage. Maybe you can get by with 3 if you want to yell at your rando and your rush tard rando.
Yeah, and of course, if someone just goes AFK, I mean, why aren't they kicking players who are just inactive? It's so stupid.
Because it's in the game, man.
I think, another game mode that I think they were not very focused on at the moment right now because they knew that Weekend League was going to get so much attention and yada yada yada. So hopefully that changes over the next couple of weeks, next couple of months.
All right, that's going to wrap it up. If you want to follow anybody, click the link. Everything's in the show notes. If you want to join the Patreon, do that. It's also in the show notes. And see you guys next week.
In a bit.